Hey, what's up? It's Tackless, and today we're going to be looking at slightly more advanced characters. Now, I recently made a tutorial on how to do basic characters, like what you would get pretty much out of the box from Project Spark. Now we're going to be looking at slightly more advanced characters. Characters that can sprint, characters that can aim down sights. Yeah, kind of. I guess you can kind of call it aiming down sights. So, let's get into that. This is the same character, code-wise, that I had earlier. He can double jump now, but I'm not using such a fat character model, this guy. These are some of the cool things that you get from the blacksmith pack, which I got, and I think it's cool. This I built myself. But, so, let's get into it. So, here's my guy. I'm going to open up his brain. And this is roughly the same brain. Well, actually, it's exactly the same brain that we had before. I switched out the projectile, and I changed the text color to blue, but I think that's about it. So, let's first start with sprint. Now, I'm going to be doing a kind of sprinting that you would see in like Call of Duty or Titanfall, where you click the left joystick and you sprint for a short period of time, and then you stop sprinting. Now, I'm not going to be detailed enough that you have to hold still and catch your breath, so to speak, to sprint again. As soon as you're done sprinting, you can immediately sprint again for the same period of time. But let's get into that. So first, we're going to require that the sprint happens while the left stick is in use. While the left stick is in use, we're going to do the left click, which is the same as left stick, except has the little triangles above it for clicking. So, when the left stick is clicked, we're going to do a Boolean variable called sprint. Now, don't freak out. Well, actually, here, new Boolean variable, sprint. There we go. Don't freak out. We're not going to go into variables a lot, but this is needed. So, I'm going to do Boolean variable sprint equals true. Now, when sprint is equal to true, we're going to run a series of codes. So, 4 looks about right. The first one, this is what's going to give us our sprint. We're going to go to movement, movement properties, and on land speed equals, and I found that 9 is a pretty good number. Much faster than that, and the character will be walking fast enough that when they hit a small bump, they'll lift into the air, and that'll slow them back down to normal speed. So 9, you could go 10, 11, 12 maybe, but I like 9. So, on land speed now equals 9. Now we're going to add a few parameters on how to stop sprinting. So first, we're just going to do a countdown. For 7 seconds, if this is on for 7 seconds, sprint will equal false. So this is the basic little template, I guess, for the other lines of code. So I'm just going to paste this a couple times and delete these. Next, instead of a countdown, we're going to do if the player lets go of the left joystick. So left joystick, and then in front of that, no longer. So when he is no longer using the left joystick, it will stop sprinting. And finally, when the left joystick under modifier is aimed down, it will stop sprinting. So this is all wonderful, except if I played it right now, it would never go back to normal because I told it to set its land speed to 9, so it would permanently be set to 9. So now we're going to set a quick parameter. Instead of true, we're going to be false. So when it is false, on land speed is going to be equal to 6, which is pretty close to what the characters default to anyways. It's a tiny bit faster, but whatever. So now, since all Boolean variables default to false, the character will always be moving at speed 6 until he starts sprinting. Let's give this a quick shot. So here's my guy walking around normal. Kind of get the feel for how that is. Now I'm going to sprint. Do you see how it looks like he's going faster? It may be a little hard to tell. Now he's back to slow, which was about 7 seconds. So, sprinting again, and I'm going to let go of the joystick and then walk forward again, and he's back to walking normal. Now I'm going to sprint again, pull back on the joystick like he turned around, and now he's going slow again. Now, the joystick pulled backwards, you may not necessarily want to do that if you're doing a top-down shooter, or if aiming down the joystick is necessary. That one's kind of a personal preference, but the other two are they're kind of important to stop sprinting. So, it all looks just good. So, looks like we got sprint down pat. Next, we're going to add an aim down the sights thing, kind of. What we're going to do is we're going to make the character look in the same direction the camera is looking and force him to keep looking in that direction. And we're going to add a tiny reticle on screen so he shoots in that direction. This is also really handy if he's engaging an enemy and needs to strafe. This makes strafing a lot easier. This isn't a lock on to an enemy. I will show a tutorial how to do that at some point. But this is just a simple way to kind of ADS. So, we're going to use left trigger, one left trigger, and we're going to add a couple of lines. We're going to turn in direction of the, let's see, here we go, under positioning, camera forward. That's the most of it. And for good measure, let's do quickly. Next, we're going to display, and let's do a plus sign. And the position will be center, and let's make the color, what color should we make it? We're going to make it red. That seems like an aim down sights kind of color. Yeah. So, that's how you very simply do that. Oh, and because you're changing a movement mode and not making a big physical difference, I like to add a sound. But because sounds will loop infinitely, unless you tell them not to, you need to add started to, which acts like once, but it acts like once per every time the line of code in front of it is run. So when started to left trigger, do play sound, and let's do magic crystal. Now obviously you can pick whatever sound you want, but I'm just gonna grab something around here. I don't know. I guess we're gonna do this one. I'm not even saying that this sound is a good idea, but I am saying that having a sound turn on when you do, when you change a mode or change something in your world, sounds are more important than you'd like to think they are. So adding sounds is always a good idea. Oh, and that overlapping tile was so if my character is making another sound, it's not a problem. It'll overlap and still play. So, if this works all right, my character can be looking at the camera, and then I'll press and hold left trigger. And now, whenever I move my camera, he keeps looking at it, which is really nice. And that little crosshair, I think I used a lowercase o earlier. I think I like that better. But this isn't too bad because I can aim and fire. And the way the Project Spark works, it never quite fires at the center of the screen. But you get pretty close. As opposed to just trying to freestyle it. without ADSing, and you've got no hope. Even at this range, you just gotta pray that auto-aim kicks in rather than aiming down sights, and you can actually line up shots. It's a little hectic, but not bad. It's not too bad a sound, actually. So, that's aiming down sights, and if you look, my character strafes now instead of runs sideways, which is a good way to keep focused at an enemy, but yet you can keep moving side to side, because now I can still attack forward and then keep moving side to side. So, I'm a fan of that little mechanic. Now, the final mechanic I'm adding is not necessarily a new one, but it's not one I went over in the my basic characters tutorial, and that's what to do if there's not something interactable in front of you. So, I'm going to switch this and put a pressed in front of this, and I'll get to why later. So, we had the whole when detects an interactable object in front of the player, but let's say there's not an interactable object. So we're going to go to else, and then put a child line of code. And we're going to do B, pressed. We're going to do dodge with strafing. Now the with strafing and my aim down sights work together really well, and you can get some really cool looking stunts. The reason that I added pressed on both of these is because if I want to go to an interactable object and the pressed is not there, the instant I press B, it will interact with the object, and then that object is either gone or equipped or whatever, and thus no longer interactable. Then it immediately, because for one frame, my B button is still pressed, it will also dodge with strafing. So you'll interact and dodge at the same time. So when you press it, it will only do one thing, and then you have to press it again to do the next thing. Hopefully that makes sense. There we go. So, if I aim down sights, and then I dodge, when I'm walking, let's say, backwards, backflip. And if I'm strafing, I do a quick little jump strafe. And I'll do a front roll forward. So that's a really slick way to avoid enemies. But, let's say I want to talk to this guy. Look at that. I don't dodge, I don't strafe, I don't do anything, even though this guy is a jerk. Same with this hammer. Pick it up, not a problem. But then, I immediately go to strafing. So, that's how to sprint, how to aim down sights, so to speak, and how to strafe and jump. So, I hope this video was helpful. Soon I will be doing a more advanced characters and then a highly advanced characters tutorial. But this is the more advanced character tutorial, so I hope it made sense. Thank you for watching. Oh, look at that. I got more downloads. Die, squirrel! Haha, I'm a good shot. Thanks for watching, and I will see you